Hello, 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 my people. I want to welcome you back to the Huddle, where we explore the written knowledge of the world and open up a space to discuss not only the content, not only what we learn, but where the growth lies. For Black History Month, we celebrated the author, actor, leader, Hill Harper, by diving into his book, Letters to a Young Brother, Manifest Your Destiny. Though his audience is directed to young Black men, this content speaks to us all. I had the pleasure of sitting with a dear friend of mine, Marcell Jackson, who himself is forging a path of leadership for his community, for his family, and for his business. And let me tell you, we got into it. So without further ado, Huddle. What's up, my people? Welcome back to the Huddle, where we dive into the literature of the world to learn all the lessons those before us came to give. Today, I've got a special guest, a good friend, Marcell Jackson, president, CEO, and founder of Professionally Developed. This man, I met him in college at North Carolina A&T, and I had a period where I had some struggles in school. I had a focus on football, but you find people that can help you grow in every area of your life. And Marcell initially came in as like a tutor, somebody to kind of help lead me through classes, help pull me along. But he developed into a great friend. I'm watching him become a great father. And I'm excited to have him on here because he's got a boundless amount of experiences from diverse areas. He's from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And I want him to tell you a little bit about himself and what he's doing with Professionally Developed. But I just want y'all to know y'all about to have an exciting adventure through this book. Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper. Marcell, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Yo, Arthur Wallace, thank you for having me here, man. Excited to be here. So, born and raised Milwaukee, Wisconsin, graduated from the illustrious North Carolina A&T State University with a bachelor's in electrical engineering. That's actually where I got my start into resume writing. My sophomore year of college, part of the National Society of Black Engineers, noticed a whole bunch of resumes in our resume books we were gifting to organizations were trash. So it led to me updating a whole bunch of people's resumes. And from there, a lot of people started to get some amazing results, right? So I kind of carried that into my professional work life. And in 2016, founded Professionally Developed. So I am your favorite career coach. And on average, I help my clients increase their annual salary by $17,000. So yeah.
All right, so we definitely gonna give y'all the plug to hit Marcell after this is done, because everybody wants that 17,000. That's an average, so you can do a whole lot more.
Exactly.
So Marcell, I contacted you about a month ago, a little bit more than a month ago, because I definitely think you have a vast knowledge, a vast interesting opinion on the way the world works and how you see it. And I wanted to bring that to the Huddle. You selected this book, Letters to a Young Brother by Hill Harper. Tell the people why you chose this book.
Yeah, great question. So I was fortunate enough to meet Hill Harper at North Carolina A&T. I was part of the Thurgood Marshall College Fund Leadership Institute in New York, and they bring in a slew of celebrities, and we had a brother to brother panel where all the men were there invited to come speak, and we had some politicians. He was the only actor. I had some other people on the panel. He was giving away signed autographed books of his book titled The Wealth Cure. And from there, like I went, I read it. I seen that he was like super active with young professionals, college students, and everything else. So I read that book, and I was like, yo, what else did he write? Then I stumbled across Letters to a Young Brother. So, and honestly, like it made me, hearing his story through The Wealth Cure and through Letters to the Young Brother, just made me appreciate him more than just an actor, but also as a person, as an activist, as an author, even more. So we thought about this book, especially Black History Month. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's read about Hill. Let's revisit this book.
And I was all for it, because honestly, when you said this book, somebody brought this book to my school when I was 16 years old. And it was like a men's to men's program. And they brought up this book and saying it was a great foundation for young men growing into manhood. But as a young man, I didn't understand that they were telling the truth. Like, this book is the foundation, the blueprint for any young man working into manhood. It dives into so many different areas and aspects of becoming a man. But at 16, I think I read like 4 chapters, and that was it. So for you to bring this back up, I mean, it hit me. I was like, I was supposed to read this book. How old am I? 15 years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's never too late to dive into it. So it was amazing to get into it. And the first concept that he brings in, and he like jumps right off the boat with, what are the qualities of a good man? Yeah. So what he said was, a man is honest. He behaves with responsibility. He lives with integrity, believes in God, and he's defined by what he does. What was your take on those concepts, those principles as becoming a good man?
Yeah, I thought they were very simple, straight to the point. I actually struggled a long time with the phrase good man, or he's a good guy, or a good dude. That's because
I remember that.
Yeah, because it's like, yeah, what is that? How do you define it? And I think even his definition is it's pretty cool. It's pretty clear cut and everything else, but I think it's always levels and deeper. But I think as a surface of, hey, this is a good man, like I believe, because you're talking about the person, the integrity, what he does, some level of accountability, also spirituality. So whether that be God or something else, but just believing in something higher than yourself and just making sure that like it's more purpose behind it. So I'm rocking with it.
Have you always viewed, I know you had trouble understanding that concept of a good man, but has it always looked like that to you? Did that what a good man look like change over time?
Yeah, so I think maybe I need to change it to what a great man is, what a profound man is. But it seemed very okay. So I think I struggled just because it seemed like too basic, and there was a lot of praise, because it's like, oh, well, he works, he comes home every night, he's there for his children, right? It was very like very like bare bottom, right? Every time I've
Right.
heard people referring to a good man, so I'm like, is that it? Should it be more, right? Is it, is it deeper to somebody who, gives back to the community, right? Is it somebody else who's, who protects others, who, right? Like, okay, cool, like that's a little bit surface, but
Yeah.
yeah. So I think as I start to grow and understand the concept of manhood, right, it's complex, and I think it is something that should grow and evolve as you grow and evolve, right? So it shouldn't be, I check these 4 boxes, so I'm good. Like, hey, I go to church,
Yeah.
I work, I'm doing this, I'm done. Yeah. I'm done. It's just like, that's kind of where the work begins. So it's kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I like that, because
Yep.
he alluded to it, that the way he saw it as a child was very different than how he's developed it and when he wrote this book. And I mirrored that when I was a kid. I thought I was a good kid, so I was like, I'm gonna be a good man. Like, you just be nice to people, you do what you're supposed to do, the bare minimum, really. But as I've evolved, that definition has evolved, just like you said. A concept that he brought in right after that, which
Yeah.
would have been mind blowing for a 16-year-old if I would have been paying attention,
Yeah,
was that
exactly.
we are the newest, greatest model of human being. When you heard that, what did it? Well, as a young man, what do you think you would have thought? And then now, how do you see that concept?
Yeah, man. I think I don't know if it would have changed from then, but but like, to me it made sense. To me it clicked. Like, hey, we have way more opportunities than other people, right? Like, we're the newest model. So I think that kind of resonated. Even young, I think one of my college admission essays was just talking about youth and the importance of youth. Like, we are the future, right?
Right.
They talk about us millennials like we do everything because they told us that you're special, you can do anything. But like, that's real, and I think it plays into my thought now of like why we need to go and invest in the youth so much. Like, if we're not cultivating the next generation, like that's the next generation of doctors, lawyers, politicians, engineers, right? So if we're not sowing and investing in them, then like we're kind of setting ourselves up for failure. But yeah, I'm with it, man. I just was like, okay, cool. As soon as I heard it, I thought like that for a minute, but just to put them in the words just did something a little bit different for me. So what about you? Yeah.
For me, I know as a 16-year-old or a young man trying to grow, I would have been like, yeah, because I'm better than the people before me, just off jump. I'm better
Yeah.
than what came before me. But as an adult now, I look at it as somebody was able to press the fast forward button for me because of everything that my family, everything that those figures in Black history, everything that's come before me has put the information in front of me that I can learn that they had to live through. And now that fast forwards me to being that better model in a quicker time. And then just like you said, the next generation, we're going to do the same thing for them. That should be the intent, is to help them fast forward. So at when I learned and when I was 30, hopefully my little nephew or my little cousin learns at 25.
Mm-hmm.
And then he can accelerate
Gotcha.
his life. And honestly, that translates into generational wealth, understanding how to manage your money, how to understand to manage relationships at a younger age helps you maneuver through this world a lot faster. So that's where my mind evolved, because I was like, at 16, it would have been, yeah, I'm just better than y'all, man. But now I realize those shoulders that I stand on, they allow me to stand taller because they came before me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So talking about family, the next generation, you're a father.
I am.
And Hill talks about that communication between a parent and a child. And I have a question for all fathers, because one day I'd like to be one.
Okay.
How do you feel like you will change the way you communicate with your child, or are there different techniques that you feel like you would want to communicate differently than you did with your parents, or are there some things that you really found valuable from communicating with your parents that you want to bring to your son?
Yeah. Great question. I would say my parents made it very, very easy for me to talk to them about things. So I want to make sure that kind of keep that open, that fun relationship. That doesn't mean I always took advantage of talking to them, but I never felt like I had to hide anything from my parents or that I couldn't talk to them about anything. And yeah, definitely the way I was raised and parented changes the way that I view life, the way that I'm thinking about raising my son. So he's 2, but me and my wife talk about just boundaries out, like overall, and respecting the fact that the child, hey, give me a hug, right? Or can I have a hug? So asking more, right? And if he says
Yeah.
no, respecting that, because when we're not, I don't know if you've ever been forced to go hug that aunt or give that, or give her a kiss or something, but it's, like kids go through something and you're telling them that, if they say no or they don't feel comfortable, you're not respecting their boundaries. And then as they, go up into teenhood and adulthood, then they struggle with people respecting their boundaries and everything else. So even at 2, we're doing that. Or if he's feeling some type of way, we're like, okay, cool. Can you try to? I mean, he's just barely starting to talk, but we're like,
Yeah.
yo, cool. You're crying. You're upset. Like, yo, we validate that. And I don't think that's something that I heard a lot, but that's something that I'm being intentional about speaking with him on. And yeah, even talking about my dad. So I have 2 amazing dads. I have my stepdad who stepped up immediately with my mom, and I have my bio dad. They're both great. But yeah, so my dad, I can remember sitting in the car, 7 years old. I was upset about something, crying, and he's like, "Yo, stop crying, because you've been a little girl." So for me, I'm just like, "What?" So I'm at 7 trying to process this. So I thought,
People don't
"Yo, I
understand how
can't."
traumatic that can be.
Exactly. So I'm like, "Yo, I can't cry." So for a period of time, like I just kind of shut down all of my emotions, right? The
Yeah.
good, the bad, the whatever. I'm just like, yo, I can't feel. Like clearly I wasn't a crybaby child or whatever. So if I'm crying, something was really wrong. But
Right.
instead of saying like, yo, you okay? What's wrong? Stop crying, being a little girl. And it wasn't until, let's fast forward to, let's call it maybe 28, I'm having this conversation with them, like, yo, because now I'm going, we talk about children, but also thinking about the youth and everything, because I do a lot of volunteer work. It's a documentary called The Mask You Live In, and just toxic masculinity and everything. So I'm talking to my pops before I go give this seminar to these young boys. I'm like,
Right.
yo, I need to address this with you. Like, yo, I don't know if you remember, but yo, we had this conversation and this is how it like put me on this path or whatever. So now as I'm thinking about opening up and then being more emotional, like with my wife and other relationships and other friendships, it's just like, yo, I was stunted for a minute. I mean, he was there, he apologized. I mean, like the damage was done, right? So I'm like just doing the work, but stuff like I wouldn't, that's not something I'll tell my son. Right.
What?
So yeah.
Yeah. So what's the intent behind that for the future in your son's life? So I know it's like giving him the space to feel, but like, what do
Mhm.
you see long term? How does that help him?
Yeah, so I'll be man, I come across a lot of men who kind of just suck at communicating in general.
Okay.
So hopefully he'll be able to do that, and then too, hopefully he'll be able to feel and be in touch with his emotions, his feeling, whatever is happening, and be able to articulate that. Because I went through a period as well where like I was feeling something, but I couldn't say what I was feeling or how I was feeling because I never had that opportunity or that platform to express it and figure those things out. So I'm hoping to propel him so like you don't have to wait until like, 23, 24 to start really thinking about what you want, how you feel, and how to articulate that. Like you're doing the work, you're having this platform and everything now where you'll be good. Maybe he'll be a psychologist, like because he'll be
Yeah.
so in tune with him and like, yo, cool. Like not to say that everything that he does or feel like is right, but feelings come from a real space. So like I at
Sound
least
like
validate you feel that way. So
sound like
yeah,
that fast
yeah,
forward button right
yeah.
there.
Fast forward
Yeah, you
ASAP,
can skip
man.
all of this.
ASAP. Exactly. I think that's the part of parenting, right? You're trying to give it's just two worlds coming together and trying to give him the best of both, what we had growing up. So
Yeah, not that something's happening in the background, but when that day comes for me, I'm gonna
yeah.
reach out, man. We need to have some
Oh
conversations about that.
yeah, man. Got you. I got you.
I know. But so there's another space around
Yeah.
family that is not necessarily family you were born into. It's
Hmm.
friendships.
Yeah.
And Hill talks about an instance where he thought he had a friend that was really threatening his life in a sense. Um, how do you feel that friendships or friends affect the development of a young man?
Yeah, man. And I would say, so if I go back to like 15, 16-year-old Marcell, like I'm like, nah, I'm my own person. I'm independent. They don't affect me at all. But like, nah, like that statement of who you spend the most time with, like the five closest people in your life, you start to mimic some of their things, right? So you're either, elevating them or they're pulling you down or y'all all stand the same or something is happening. So yeah, I'll say friends are probably like the most influential factor. So I think the parents, we talked about parenting, right? I think their influence of like how you express yourself and everything else and all of that stuff. But your friends, like you're spending time with it, you're spending time with them, you're probably telling them stuff, like you're learning, you're growing, they're right there, and you're probably mimicking, right? Because like we all trying to stay cool and be like each
Right,
other and
right.
everything else. So I think they're at one point like they're like the greatest influence. So whether be it good, be it bad, like they're right there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
See, I always thought that I could be my own man. I almost felt like I had to be because uh, when I was growing up, I played soccer, and
Mm,
in the community I grew up in, that's not something people gravitate towards. So I almost had to walk to my own beat early, but I didn't
mm,
understand how valuable real friends are to helping you grow as a well-rounded person. So once I got in my mind that I got to do everything by myself, I kind of shut people. I gave people like a barrier, like you're not getting inside of this wall. Um, but it wasn't until college, and it was probably around the time um, that probably right before I met you, maybe like a year or two before I met you, I started really understanding how valuable those relationships. People, real friends, ask real questions to help you
mm.
kind of look through what you're doing and understand. And I mean, you can have a great time with real friends, and they got your back. So I feel like that part of the young man is essential to their development. Now, the caveat is and Hill brought it up, is you got to define what a real friend is,
Yes.
because some people may look like friends. Maybe they're after something, or maybe they're into something that you don't need to be in. So you need to define what a real friend is for yourself. If you're young, go talk to a mentor or somebody that can help you understand what friendship is going to look like in the long term. So
Yep.
I started doing that. I started to recognize how valuable it was. And honestly, I'm so happy to still have you as a friend, because I know you used to say I gave you something on the front end, but man, for the last, how long we been friends? 11 years now, 10 years, whatever.
Something like that,
Man,
man.
and you have given me random sparks of fire that I need. Because I mean, I'm driving down this road, but sometimes you need that nitrous oxide. And
Exactly, exactly.
Marcell will randomly hit you up, and I'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm ready to go. Yeah. So no, I see how valuable selecting the right friends are, and I hope young men realize how important it is and how much it can really help and change your life. Shoot, you end up with people like you, lifelong friends.
Exactly, man. And I wish I would have read this, because I'm like kind of envious. I wasn't really into it either, so I'm like audiobooks all day. But
Yeah.
like you being privy to this, because it took me going through some ups and downs with friendships and having to like just cut people off, because um yeah, like people weren't real friends, right? You realize, hey, you're here, you're cool to go hang out with and everything else, but like when I need you, you're not there. And I was guilty for a long time until college, right? um calling everybody a friend, being there for everybody, showing up for everybody, but not necessarily getting that like reciprocated. So
Right.
if I had this and defined that friend, I'm like, yo, you're
Not
not that good
that.
of a friend. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if I could go rock with you. So I think that's something that we're all learning. And maybe it would have been in one ear out the other, but maybe I would have figured it out at 18 and not
Yeah.
21, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
So a concept that kind of came from it, it really started to sink home for me with my friends. My parents,
Mhm.
they had a pretty basic delivery on how to manage money. It was save it, don't go into debt, and you should be all right. Um, what I learned from talking to a lot of my friends in the situations that they're in now or have gone through, this
Mhm.
debt rule kind of came up to me. The debt
Okay.
rule that Hill says is you only go into debt for real estate or education.
Mm.
When you heard that, what first did you fully agree with it? And then second, how do you see that as a valuable concept to move forward in life?
Yeah. So I'll say at one point I agree with it. No, I still agree with it, especially just being young. So I made sure when I got my like first car right at 17, paid for it cash. Like one of my brother's homeboys
Balling,
was selling his
balling.
car. So I mean, I was working at Wendy's. Cool. I had some money, right?
Yeah.
Not a lot. It was like $1,000. So yeah. So I did that, and even the car that I got in college, like went to another auction, right? And went and got it. And at that point, I did have student loans, but yeah, that didn't stick long because I also had credit cards. So even though I like believed it, I was just like, yo, but the way the mall is set up, I'm like, let me go
Right.
ahead and do this and do that. But I don't think it's something that was talked to enough. So as far as parenting, my parents would just say, don't live off your credit card. That was their financial advice to me.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, cool. And what I end up doing, living off my credit cards, right? It wasn't like, hey, this is how you work with money. Hey, save this, save that. Because for me, like I always kept a job. So I'm like, oh, I'm only broke until I got money again. So let's do this, let's do that. Like I wasn't really thinking about emergencies or what if this
Right.
happened, what if that happened. So yeah, so I think it's a great starter rule to live by and try to keep going. But I also understand that like every situation is different. So credit, as long as you're not, or auto loans or whatever, as long as you're not doing it for the, if you need a car to go
Yeah.
get that, if you don't have the money but you got a down payment, like I, 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 go get it. Like
Yeah. I
like
think I
I'm
think there's
there. So
I
yeah.
think there's a piece to that car thing because
Okay. Yeah.
I feel like what he's aiming at is appreciation. Like
Okay.
don't only get debt in things that appreciate.
Okay.
But if I need a car, I buy $1,000 car.
Hmm.
The purpose to go to work is appreciate, though the car might be depreciating, is giving
Yeah.
me appreciation in my career path, my bank account, those
Yep.
kind of things. So I feel like there's some gray area, but like you said,
Yeah.
it's a great foundational
Yeah.
concept. I think the real goal is like, don't be afraid to go into debt over your education,
Yeah.
because it's gonna appreciate down the line.
That's a good
Uh,
point.
I think like real estate, like the real estate market goes up and down, but if you're what you're doing is really paying yourself equity when you
Hmm.
buy a house and you're paying a mortgage. So I understand that concept, but I do think once you start getting into the weeds, like there's some gray areas where, yeah, I mean, honestly, building your credit, you have to get some debt to build the credit, and that's buying a car. You're
Yeah.
working on developing your
Yeah.
credit score, which allows you to have more options, which we'll talk
Hmm.
about a little later as well,
Yeah.
and as how you move with your money.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. And honestly, thinking about it, because we just got off on a tangent about a gray area and everything else, and
Hey
that
man,
might be
changes are where we live at. We
exactly,
good.
exactly. So that might be the simplicity of what he's saying. It's like, let's just make it real clear cut, right? Can you pay cash for this? Is this going toward your education? Is this going toward the property? Then let's cut it off. So I think maybe having that like black, white, clear cut thing will be the thing to just help people moving forward. Especially if I'm a young brother. I'm assuming it's like toward high school and middle school boys that he's writing his letters, his messages to. It's like, yeah, like that's simple.
Yeah,
like let's go.
yeah.
Let's do it. Because so everybody's not responsible with money, right? I think a study came out maybe 2 to 3 years ago that said like over half or most Americans wouldn't be able to take a $400 like emergency bill or something like that. Like wouldn't be able to pay for it,
Right.
which means they need to go into debt to go pay for it. So just looking at society and where we are and how we're just like want it all fast. So I think kind of having that hard stop, like yes, no, easy point kind of makes it easier to be like, nah, I should spend my money on this. So
I think we just, and I hope Hill, I hope you hear this one day. I think we just gave you the title to your next book. Letters to a Grown Man. So
Whew,
we
man. Speaking of that, I was thinking because the I guess for those of you, please read the book if you haven't. There's also letters to young sisters out there. But the way the book is set up, it's a series of letters that Hill was writing back and forth to a young man, and there's some other letters that he got from other young men that sprinkled out. But it's just focusing on this one relationship. And I'm thinking this book was released in 2006, like you said, like 15 years. Like, where is dude? Like, did he? Yeah. So if so, Hill, if you are out, I would love that follow up just to say like, yo, did he listen? I mean, we are hard headed sometimes, but so maybe we
yeah.
didn't. But just thinking about it. So
I mean, and
next book,
honestly, and we're gonna keep going on this tangent because
yeah.
those young men, okay, they
Yeah.
did these basic rules.
Okay.
Hill has lived through another piece of life that's in the front of in front of us. Now we can have a conversation of where we're trying to go now. Yeah, we
Mm,
got to become men, but now how about professional men, grown men, adult men? Like that's the next phase, man. Man, you
yeah,
got some
man.
knowledge. Hill, come holler at me.
Hill, we need you. Like
We
let's
need
let's
you, brother.
rap.
Hey, I'm telling you, he gonna hear this, man.
Okay.
So, so in everything that we've talked about, it's been really a lot of outside forces, how
Okay.
they affect us, um, just kind of aura concepts. This next one is like, to me, it's like here,
Okay.
and then it graduates to here, because he says work hard but work smart. And for my life, I told you I was the guy that was like, well, nobody want to kick it with me and nobody want to work out with me. I'm going by myself. So like me working hard allowed me to learn how to work smart for myself. Um, I went through a lot of time of just working hard and not making the progress that I wanted, but I started to gain awareness of like what works for me.
Mm,
How can I be efficient? I think that would come a lot faster if you have those friends around you to help. Hey, look, you might
Yep.
want to get some sleep, man. That might help.
Exactly.
But for you, what was one? Do you feel like working hard, working smart, and working hard are either combative or they need to work together? What's your take on the work hard but work smart concept?
Yeah, man, I'm team work smart, right? Don't make things harder if it doesn't need to be. Maybe that's the engineer in me, right?
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just like there's always quicker, better, more efficient ways to do things. Whether that be having somebody help you out with something, like you said, relying on your friends, relying on that circle, but like working hard at something, is just like okay, cool, but yeah, I think one of the quotes I would say, I don't know who like said this quote. They said if they had like 10 hours to chop down a tree, they'll spend 9 of the hours like sharpening
sharpen
the
the
axe.
axe. Yeah,
Yeah, so and maybe my numbers are wrong, but you get the point. It's just like, hey, if I do this the, I could go hard at this tree, right, and
with
work
a
very
dull
very
axe.
hard. But yeah, but I could be very very smart and thought out and plan some things, and then I'll go, and it's a lot easier. So I think I don't think there's anything wrong with hard work. Because like you said, sometimes it is through working hard, is completing that process, and then you realize, hey, this is better, this is quicker, this is more
Right.
efficient, than having to go deal with something else. So I'm all about, if you're deciding to work hard, like always be constantly thinking about how can I make this better? How can this be easier? What can
That's
I do?
it.
So that's where
That,
I'm at, man.
yeah, because I wouldn't tell a young man not to work hard, but I would tell him when you do work hard, be ready to review yourself, analyze yourself, so the next time you come to the table, you could be a lot more efficient.
Yep.
And you can tell the next man how to be efficient. But as a young man, I feel like I was told to work hard so I can build a capacity to work hard. But
Okay.
that last piece that you said
Yeah.
is the icing on the cake, that if you work hard, realize how you could have been more efficient going
Yep.
through that process. So then now you got the knowledge of everything that was behind the scenes of working hard, but now you can get to the solution a lot quicker.
Yep.
So
I think it's also uh maybe call it generational thing. That if you think about it, let's call it 50 years ago, working hard, most of the jobs were factory, blue collar, manufacturing. So
right.
the more things you got out, you were rewarded, right? So a lot of people were paid by the amount of pieces. So it's like work hard, work hard, work hard. But now as we're starting to enter more and more into this knowledge economy where people are paying you more for your thoughts and your ability to process and do things, but look at the situation and say, I'm gonna sharpen this axe a little bit more and then keep going and more efficient, right? I think it's become a lot more valuable. So I think as times change, as we start to progress and evolve, like we need to, like that adage of just work hard, actually hate one, work twice as hard, right? Like,
Yeah.
nah, let's focus on working smart. Like let's reflect, let's look at some things and then kind of keep going.
Man, I think like our individual lives
Okay.
are like a microcosm, or should be a microcosm of generational growth. So like you said, and in the 1930s and 40s, it was sharecropping and working in the fields, and then in the 50s and 60s, it was moving to factories, and then moving to the 80s and 90s, you start to get out there into these more professional jobs. So like as a young man, work hard. You're in the fields, you're grinding, but as you continue to grow, you're taking steps up that um, efficiency ladder of making the same or more money, but getting to those solutions a lot faster. I feel like that's kind of the process of getting to that working smart phase in your life, because that's where I'm trying to get, man. I'm tired of
Exactly,
I'm
man.
not tired of working hard, but I like to work a lot more efficient.
Y- Yeah, and we'll bring it back because this letter's to young brothers. So let's go speak to them because hopefully a lot of them watch this as well. Even thinking about school, I was pretty much, I'm a like extrovert, but I spent most of my like high school career and like K through 12 as an introvert, just talking to myself, but just study groups, right? Because I was like, nope, I'm smart. I'll figure it out. I'll do this. I'll do that.
Yeah.
Like you could work smarter. Like it might be a couple pieces of this information that you don't really understand, but Wallace might understand it. So let's go talk to him. Let's go partner. So now we're sharing out, and it's like, oh, like we're both getting smarter, right? As opposed to me struggling through this concept or something. So study groups, asking for help. I always tell like all the young people, like somebody's getting an A in the class. Go talk to them. They're
Okay.
understanding it, and maybe they're able to explain it in a way that the professor, the teacher, the instructor isn't. So yeah, let's go. Like let's be smart about this. So you can apply that to like any level, right?
Man, I want y'all to realize how real what Marcell said. That concept he just said saved my academic college career
Mm,
because I got to a point where I was so focused on football, and it had never happened to me where I let school slip. But me joining a study group with you, Julian, Alicia, that group
yeah.
saved my college career. But it's only because I got outside of myself
Yep.
and I went and found some people who were doing well. We were able to bounce things out. I did bring something to the table every now and then.
You got it, bro.
but that's how, I mean, and it's parts of my life that I was able to help them through, and that's how we continue to grow as a family, as friends. We bring what we have in our toolbox to the table, and we help build each other.
Exactly.
So a lot of times when people work hard, they kind of get in this mindset that I don't want to do this anymore because it's too hard. Or Hill comes up with a concept or says something about quitting versus changing your mind. Um, so my sister's gonna hate me for this. When she was like 4, she was playing soccer, and we had this thing that you don't quit anything. But my dad allowed my sister to quit, and I was pissed. And I kept that in my mind for so long that like I can't quit, I can't quit, I can't quit anything. That I honestly feel like I ended up hurting myself
Mhm.
in some instances, because if I change the concept that Hill's trying to bring, is if you change your mind, like you recognize this is not for me, that you recognize my passion isn't behind doing this, and if I take the energy my passion is in, I can progress, I can excel, I can do the hard work, and it won't bother me as much. But it has to be a mindset thing instead of like I quit, I don't want to do it. It's
Mhm.
like, okay, I see what's happening. This isn't for me. But what am I going to take this energy that I need to be expending and do? How did you take? Did you have an experience in growing up in the word quit, or being allowed to change your mind?
Yeah. Let's see. Growing up, I didn't really I didn't do much. That I would say so. So for us, it's 5 boys. I'm the second oldest on my on my
That's
mom's
fun.
side. So yeah. So my stepdad, he got a basketball court because he wanted a dream team, right? So up north where basketball is like praised more than football.
Yeah.
So he had us out there, 3-man weaves, this, that. So I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like this isn't. So I quit,
Yeah.
right? But his thing was like, okay, cool, but you can't just go back in the house.
Yeah.
Like, you can find something else. You need to go be act like you can't just go back, just chill and just watch TV all summer. That we're not doing that. So I mean, I kind of pivoted to the bicycle, and then my sister was in a bicycle, and so I'm just like, okay, cool. So we just all around the city. Like literally, I learned most of the city by like just cycling
Riding your
around the
bike.
city. So yeah, so besides, so because I'm not really athletic, I didn't go off in any sports or anything else. So yeah, but I don't think it's something that we talk about enough, because we hear like don't quit, don't give up, and I think that's the rhetoric that's pushed all the time. I don't think we talk enough about changing minds. So as I talk to a lot of the young men that I mentor, probably younger in their careers, trying to figure everything out and think about next steps and next roles, I'm like, hey, they're like, oh, Marcell, should I take this job? Should I do this? I'm so worried. I'm like, breathe. We're cool. Like, make the best decision with the amount of information that you have. But it's okay to change your mind. Like, nothing's permanent. And I don't think we talk about that as much, to say,
Right.
like, if you might want to do something different. Like, you might want to go write a book. You might want to go do this, right? Like, even Hill, right? So he stumbled upon, got into acting, but he also like got a whole like law degree. So I'm like, yo, it's okay to change your mind. So let's normalize that. But I think, to his point, is let's just not, don't let's use that as an excuse to just hop from thing to thing and not seeing anything out. Like, kind of stick with it, see if it's worth it, make that conscious decision to go do something else. The thing is, don't, just like my dad, he's like, you just can't go back and just go sit and be lazy. So
Right.
like, you
Right.
have to go do, like, tell me what that next thing is. Like, show me that you have a plan for something else before. So so yeah, that's my like brief experience of quitting.
I feel like like I'm like devil's advocate sometimes, because I always try to
Okay.
find like the ins and outs of everything. So I feel like if you start something,
Hmm.
you should finish it. And I think Hill might have brought this up, but if you start something, you say, I want to do singing lessons. You pay for 10 singing lessons. You better go finish those 10 singing lessons. But after you've completed that, if
Yeah.
you decide it's not for you,
Hmm.
you can change your mind. So in my head, it builds in two realms. That if I start something and I
Hmm.
say I'm going to complete it for you, or for this, or at work, I do it. I finish it. Now, I experience it. I might be like, I'll never do that again. But I did what I told myself I was going to do, and I finished it. Now, changing your mind is taking the same energy that you had to fight and claw to get through something you didn't want to do,
Hmm.
and try to find something that you do want to do, and use that energy and propel, like I said, propel faster, propel further. So I don't
So
know if Hill brought it up, but I think that's where I would take it.
going with that concept. So if I'm like, because we have Bill Gates, right, who dropped out of college because of Microsoft, and cool. Are you saying like, bruh, you started in college, you need to finish that thing out and get that degree, or like, is it levels to that, to say, hey, you committed 4 years to this institution, like the debt rule, go into debt, finish because you started this degree, or are you allowed to change your mind? Or singing lessons, maybe is because it's just 10 lessons and not 4 years. Like, kind of, what's your thought on that? If I have to, now I'm devil's advocate trying to
Now
figure
go
it out.
ahead,
Yeah,
dive in,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But see, what I would say to that is like, okay, I started this semester.
Okay.
I got this class, I got that class, biology, calculus, whatever.
Hmm.
I'm in this space for this season, which is a 5-month semester. Finish your semester. And if you realize, yo, like finish the semester and then say college is not for me. I
Right.
tried it. I gave what I had in this time frame, but then you have an opportunity to say, hey, I'm going to try something else. To me, don't start calculus and then 3 weeks in be like, yeah,
Let's
really
drop it.
bored. We paid for it. Class, we paid for it. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
get out of here. No, finish that semester, finish that class, that course, that time, that season, and then make your shift. Understanding what you went through and saying, that's not for me. That's how I see that.
Man, interesting. I get what you're saying. So you're saying, hey, if you started a commitment, like regardless of that, if the semester is like, from here to here, complete the semester because you started it, right?
Right.
And then kind of keep going. I'm with that. I just heard a stat. I think they said, because with all the courses and stuff, a lot of people got courses and webinars and stuff right now. They say only like 30% of the people finish from start to end. So paid your money, you done did it, but only 30%. So yeah, so maybe, so I'm with you. So I guess it is some value in, hey, just completing it, then making that decision, since you did make the upfront investment for this amount of time. Okay.
And to me, that there's always this little side piece to not quitting, is like pride in yourself. Like, I said I was gonna do this. I committed to doing this class, even
Mhm.
though I hated it. It sucked. I finished it. I mean,
Gotcha.
but that translates into so many other areas in your life. I mean, you're gonna make decisions where you do something that you don't want to do again, but you got foundation in. I've decided I wanted to do something. I didn't really like it, but I finished it. It happens again. You've already got the foundation to get through whatever that next thing is, and then you can change your mind again.
All
So
right. All right.
in that school realm, in that knowledge realm, Hill brings up the concept of tools of choice. So in today's world, what I wrote down is money doesn't buy happiness, but it buys you options and to help you find your happiness. But education doesn't guarantee money, but it does give you options of how to make money and increase your capacity. So to me, like money doesn't mean you're gonna be happy, but it does give you options to shoot. If I want to go travel and enjoy the world, that's my happiness. I can go do that because I got some money. But education gives you the foundation to go get that money in whatever direction that you want to go. Without education, and it doesn't have to be school for all of you young men. It doesn't necessarily have to be school. I'm gonna tell you that. But you have to continue to grow your mind to give yourself options to go into real estate, to go into selling your own apparel, to go into starting a barbershop, owning a business, whatever. You got to continue to grow your mind so you have options to bring in the money and do whatever you want to do to find your happiness. How do you see that, Marcell?
Man, when I first, so he speaks about that in the Wealth Cure as well. So mind blown, right? It's because I think we put so much time and energy, like, hey, I need to make six figures, or I need to do $1 million in business, or I need to do this and everything. But what does that really buy you, right? And money only buys you options. At the end of the day, it's printed. I mean, half the money not even carried no more. It's all digital now. Bitcoins,
Right.
it's just right. So so yeah, it's just if you have, again, we talk about the car, so we'll go with the debt rule, right? In honor of Hill, right? If I got $5,000, I have a certain option as far as like what I can buy, what I can drive off the lot, and everything. If I have $15,000 on me, I got more options, right?
Right.
So that's all it is. Same with education, and you spoke on it as well. So whether that be like traditional college, universities, or online learning, teaching yourself a new skill, a new trade, whatever it might be, and just growing your mind and your skill set. It's, hey, if I look at so professionally developed on that hat, if I look at these jobs that's available, it's a certain amount of them out there. It's like, you just need a high school diploma or GED or whatever, right? But if you have an associate's degree, that pool gets a little bit bigger, right? If you have a bachelor's, it gets a little bit bigger. If you have a master's, right? So again, just more options. That's kind of where we at, man. So I'm like, yeah, like I think I love the simplicity of it. It's just
Yeah.
like, let's cut all of that. It's just like, it just gives you options. That's it. So yeah.
I think you keep saying that word simplicity. I feel like that's like that's some of the gold in this book. The diamond in this book is it's so simple and applicable for a young man to understand and to implement. I feel like the concepts. I mean, now I'm looking at them as a grown man, I'm like, wow. But I feel like I could have understood them as a 16-year-old. I mean, I got a lot of different experiences that I can kind of throw these things in. But at 16, I'm like,
Yeah.
I can see that. I can understand that. I hear what you're saying, Hill. And I feel like if I would have taken the time to read the whole book at 16,
Yeah.
it could have set me on a more a higher trajectory just because of the forethought and the knowledge that I gained for what was coming to me.
Exactly. I'm with you, man.
You with me?
I'm in agreement. Yeah, I'm in agreement.
All right, so we about to dive into something that's a little off the tracks. So
Okay.
he went into every spectrum of being growing into a man, and he went into sex. And as a young man, he said it's a hormonal thing. It is, I don't know what it is, man, but it's just this urge that you can honestly, you don't feel like you can control. I mean, I was in situations where I was like, why am I thinking about it? There's nothing around. But, but it's just
Like, what's happening?
it's just always pumping. But
Yeah.
so in his diving into the relationships and sex, he brings up this word about honesty. And he brought this word up in what is it to be a good man? Honesty with whatever partner you're pursuing, so they can make an informed decision. I feel like I was that kid, man. I was like, man, I'm trying to have sex, but if you understand the whole spectrum of what it is, I mean, it's physical, it's mental, it's emotional, and as you get older, you realize it's spiritual as well. As a 16-year-old, what was your view on sexual relations with women?
Yeah. Yeah, like he went deep, and I don't think it's something we talk about enough. Again, talking about parenting, right? My parents didn't really didn't really talk to me about it. I think my stepdad at 17, I was dating someone who was a little bit older, just was like, okay, here goes some condoms, and that's it. Like,
Man,
all right, cool.
I found a 64
Like,
box of
and
condoms in my drawer one day, and that was, that
man,
was
I'm
it.
just like, yo, and I'm like at this one, like I'm not even having sex. So like like what was this the end all be all? So for me, I was like you said, it's like mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual, it's physical. And at this point, I was just so focused on like spirituality, my relationship with God, also focused on like next steps, getting out of Milwaukee, and everything else.
Yeah,
So it wasn't I wasn't super pressed. I didn't feel like super pressured and everything else. I talk to everyone else.
yeah,
They tell me what they're doing and everything else. I'm like, all right, cool. I'm I'm good, right? And I think that's even because then you get into the realm where, yo, if you're not pursuing multiple women, if you're not trying to do this, and then everyone's looking like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, what's wrong
nothing.
with y'all, right? So yeah, so I think so kind of the opposite. Like I wasn't that guy, right?
Yeah,
But then it's just I don't have stories to swap and tell because like right now that's not my focus.
yeah.
So yeah, and I think that kind of just kind of dealing with the opposite of that. So
See,
yeah.
I was an impressionable youth,
Okay.
and I'm not gonna say I had a whole bunch of girls, but every time somebody came in and they would tell about a story, I was the kid that was like, "Dang, I want to do that. Dang, dang, dang." But as a grown man, you realize like, what was I really doing? One, I was wasting a lot of time. Um, but then two, like, what was the purpose behind it? Was
Yeah.
it just to get into bed with somebody? Like, it affects so much more than just that moment when you have sex with somebody.
Yeah.
And I know as a young man, it's tough to really care how somebody else gets affected. But think about like long term for yourself. Think about long term for you, the people you interact with. Think about long term for your people.
Mm,
If we're traumatizing ourselves at 16 and 17 years old, it's tough to come back from that, and everybody doesn't. So I
yep.
pray. I know it's tough, bro. I mean, I was the guy that was trying to do everything that the people were telling in the stories. But if we understand that it's so much deeper than just getting in the bed, and how it can affect, I feel like that him saying tell the truth,
Mm,
allowing people to make their own decisions. That's step one. If we can just do that, we can probably save so many traumatic moments, interactions. Um, I mean, we could probably save a lot of people STD
yep.
prevention. You could
Yep.
save. Um, I'm not unwanted births. I mean,
Hmm.
every child to me truly is a blessing.
Yep.
But if we didn't want to bring that child into this situation, we're putting that child behind the 8 ball from jump. So preventing that can help us as a whole move forward, creating whole families. But it's tough as a 16, 17, 18-year-old guy to understand. Like that's what you're doing. Um, but if you do get a chance to listen to that, please listen to me, man. It's so much deeper than getting a nut, man, to be honest.
Makes sense, man. Makes sense. Yeah, like you said, honesty. Like go get tested. know your status. Like you said, give the other person as much information as possible and let them make that decision. I think that's as you talk about that transition to manhood, it's not always what you want to do in the moment, right? It's that like we gotta sit, we gotta talk, we gotta right. It's just like yeah,
Yeah.
let's get to it. So yeah.
So I'm gonna work towards coming to an end.
Okay.
But it's two things that I wanted to talk about. That I really want our listeners and especially the young men to use in your life. Hill talks about dreaming big. Like I want you to be able to dream bigger than anybody in your family, anybody in your circle expects from you. Like even if they got high standards, I want you to dream bigger than that. I want you to feel like anything that you think is possible is possible. I always like when Kevin Garnett was in the middle of the floor after the finals yelling, "Anything's possible!" Man, I'm like, I hope people take that to be real, like not just some cliche statement that anything is truly possible. I want you to believe, dream big, and then use everything that Hill talked about to go get it. So Marcell,
There
here's
we
the
go.
question.
Yeah.
What's your biggest dream?
My biggest dream. Can I say world peace? Oh
If you're
man,
gonna
my
work for
biggest
it.
dream. Yeah, work smart for it, right? Um, yeah, man. Honestly, I want to see my city change, man. And I want to do my part and as much as possible to do it. So Milwaukee, Wisconsin is right now ranked like the worst city to raise a black family. And the state of Wisconsin incarcerates more black men than any other state in this nation,
Yeah,
right? So yeah, so if I want to talk about big dreams, I've heard someone talk about it before. Like sometimes when you think about that big vision, maybe it'll be accomplished in your lifetime, maybe not, but it always gives you something to work and strive for. So I want to
yeah.
make sure that while I'm here planning roots, businesses, mental, like I'm trying to see the city change. So that's where I'm at. Um,
I love it,
whether I'm
man.
here like long term, short term, but like just making sure that I have a heart for the city where I grew up, and yeah, that's where I'm at, man.
I love what
What a
you where you went with that because your big dream impacted more than just you. Um, and
appreciate you.
that's something that I say over and over that we are here for each other. The concept of friends and family that we talked about, the concepts that we've talked about with people behind us got us to positions where we are like everybody that on this planet is here for everybody on this planet. And we need to
Yep.
take that to heart. So I'm excited to hear that that's the dream is to impact an entire city, an entire culture of people.
Yep.
Big ups to you,
All
my
right,
brother.
man. Thanks. What about you, Arthur Wallace?
My big dream right now, because I feel like dreams evolve, just as we do. My big dream is giving young men um, the fortitude to dream and to go after those
Okay.
dreams. Um, like it's a lot of people, and that's what I said. I want people to dream big. Like it's so easy to say something and blow it off like that can't be me. But I want you
Yeah.
to believe that that dream is possible. I want you to believe that that dream is attainable. And once you said it, to not let anything stop you. I mean, there's so many different ways to get to the same thing. Your route may not look like to somebody else's route. Your time might not be the same time as theirs, but keep dreaming and keep going after it. That's I want people through the podcast, through the Instagram post, eventually through the book to realize like you see a dream that you want, go do it. It's gonna take some work. It's gonna take some grind. It's gonna take some hard work and some smart work. Um,
Yep.
but go and don't stop until maybe you change your mind. But decide to change your mind. But I just want I just want people to dream, bro, and go after it. Don't just let it sit there as a picture. Make that make it real.
Yep.
Make it
I'm with
real.
it, man. I'm with it. That reminds me of a ET quote. Eric Thomas, the hip hop preacher, he says, "The dream can be had by anyone, right? But the memory has to be earned, right? So I could dream about it. I could dream about going to college or whatever, but now I got that memory. Like I did it. I earned it. I
Right.
got the
I
degree.
experienced
So
it.
so now it's a memory because I was able to accomplish it. So
Yeah.
I'm with you, man. Like dream, but don't neglect the execution. So it's a J. Cole line. So
You got
so
these
yeah.
bars today.
Man, I'm just a student of life, man.
I hear you, bro.
Yeah.
So with you dropping a quote right there,
Okay.
um, one of the last things that Hill emphasizes, and he brought it up briefly early on in the book, is mantras. Do you have a mantra in your life where you are right now that you live by?
Um, I don't. Now I'm thinking about it. My mantra for a while was I succeed, you succeed, right? So making sure, like you said, like that dream being bigger than myself, making sure that the success that I have is shared. I don't know, just cling on to it just for myself. But I don't
Right.
have I'm not sure when in life I kind of dropped that one. But yeah, like I don't have something that I tell myself or speak to myself daily. What about you?
For me, and it's probably been about 6 years for this one. I was listening to Will Smith, and I got on a Will Smith kick for a little while, and everybody heard the story about him and his brother building a wall one summer, and they looked at it as this insurmountable task to achieve, but brick by brick,
Mhm.
they built that wall, and I love that concept. It reinvigorates me in those times that seem tough. This is just one brick that I have to work hard to lay, because it's going to be part of the wall that I look back and say that I built with my life. So for me, in my office, when we just moved out of my office trailer, it was written on the wall when I walk in, brick by brick, every day. They asked the company asked, "What's your favorite quote?" It was brick by brick, man. That's just how I see everything that I'm doing is a brick laid to the wall of my life.
Gotcha. I'm with it, man. Brick by brick, one step at a time,
There you
one
go.
brick at a time.
One
Okay.
brick at a time.
Yeah, yeah.
That's where I'm
Uh,
at, man.
yeah. So you told me one of your favorite ones. So I'll tell you one of my favorite ones is just conquer or win today, right? So I'm guilty of sometimes spending too much time in the future, like because I got so much to do, or in the past, right? Thinking about what I wasn't able to accomplish, but like sometimes just getting through the day is an accomplishment. So kind of like take that mindset to conquer today. Like everything that you have set before you, go ahead, do it. You're the master of this day. So kind of like being present and conquering this day.
Yeah. I like it, man. I say I
Yeah,
might have to go
cool.
ahead to write that on the wall.
Oh yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I will. I will, man. I love looking at stuff that kind of uh triggers me to keep moving forward. But like I said, man, we are coming to the end, and it has been a pleasure. And I'm telling you, I hope people take a listen because you have a different way of looking at the world, but it's so introspective. It takes into account your experiences, the experiences that you've heard and dealt with your friends and family. This was a valuable conversation to me. So I'm so happy and appreciative for you joining me today on the Huddle to review and dive into Letters to a Young Brother. You got anything else you want to say to the people before we get out of here?
Nah, thanks for having me. I think talking about dreaming big, right? Letter to a young brother. I would say we sometimes, just as men, we try to do everything on our own. And like you said, once you got into that study group, it changed the whole trajectory, right? If you think about sports, most of the sports are on teams. Like you need people, you need community, and it's okay to realize that you need other people. Also, it's stuff impacting other people. I would say another one of my favorite quotes is God's greatest resource is people. People's greatest resource is relationship. So imagine, like you said, like 10 years ago, us forming this relationship, this bond, this friendship, and now me being, asked to be on your podcast and everything else. And I see you write a book. Yo, like it's amazing. Like don't discount the relationship. So don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, and just continue to build. That's all I got.
I love it, man. Hey, I want to say one last thing.
Yeah.
Our relationship with Marcell Jackson and professional because he will help you develop into whatever career path beyond what you could have thought. I mean, said average of $17,000 increase. So it's more out there. So
it is.
Like I said, it has been a pleasure, man. This has been the Huddle. It's we'll be back next month, and I'll let you know what the book is. But peace, brother.
Peace.